Hi there. Today we are going to do some upper body sequencing for hypermobile ribs, shoulders. If you have a hard time activating and engaging the muscles of your upper back, of your chest, of your shoulders, even upwards of the neck, this is going to be a really nice foundational sequence for you. Keyword here is foundational, in that these exercises are designed to get those tiny little muscles nice and strong. So today I'm going to be using two different props. The first is a set of light dumbbells. These are 2 pounds I have. The dumbbells are really optional. You may or may not want to use them, just kind of depending on where your starting point is. The second one is a long, in my case, light resistance bands. Now, as always, you are welcome to use the tension that feels most beneficial for you. And in an ideal world, today's class is going to require you to have some sort of anchor for your resistance band. Now, what I mean by an anchor is something like a banister, a really heavy table, a handrail, something that you could wrap your band around and use it as an anchor. In my case, I'm going to be using this lovely bar right here, and you guys will kind of see what I mean when we get there. But we're going to start with a little bit of focus through the shoulders, the upper ribs, and the collarbone. And I'd like you guys to find a seated position, whatever feels comfortable for you. You can do this series standing as well. And we're going to take a couple big inhales and exhales. We're going to inhale through the nose and exhale however feels comfortable to you. You're welcome to close your eyes. And exhale, seeing where that breath is going. Is it going into the upper chest, the upper ribs? Can you get it a little bit lower towards the abdominals, the sides of the ribs, the back? Can you feel your body settled on the ground? Whatever is touching the ground, whether it's your feet, your bum, you might start this sequence laying down. Find that connectedness to the floor. And as we take our last 2 breaths, let's just take any shimmies and wiggles, breathe out any spaces of tension. Wherever you are finding tension today, maybe that's a space you offer a little bit more support, using any braces you might have, leaning against things or sitting against things. And go ahead and relax. All right, so this first sequence we're going to do is really just a tiny little shift of the shoulders. Now, some of you guys might be familiar with like shoulder shrugs. So shrugs look like that, right? Now, typically that movement is designed to actually activate the upper traps, which for many people, not just hypermobile, but in our case, for hypermobile people, the traps tend to hold a lot of tension and they get stuck in this kind of perpetual state of contraction. We've talked about this before. It's the hypertonic muscle. Now, in order to actually alleviate that hypertension, we can do shoulder shrugs, but make them really, really tiny. So first thing I'm going to do is just find myself in a position where I can let my hands go long. So I'm a little bit scooted forward on my mat here. All I want you to do here is take an inhale and float your shoulders up 1 inch. Ooh. And then exhale, float them down. Now, as we cycle through this, we're going to go for about 10. I want you guys to actually feel the engagement of the trapezius, the engagement through the upper back a little bit. Because interestingly enough, these gnarly trap muscles right here at the top of our shoulders that are always so annoying, That's only one part of the muscle. Would you believe it actually extends all the way down kind of towards your mid-back? So we want to work with this tiny little movement to get the entire muscle kind of connected in here. A lot of hypermobile people will also have the experience of just almost feeling like their bones are moving without anything happening in the musculature. A weird concept, I know. But here we want to focus on just these tiny little lifts, actually trying to go for engagement. We're not getting grippy here, guys. Don't get trying to force it. We try and just encourage things to get a little active. Things might shift around it. Make any little shifts or adjustments you need to. I can tell you right now, I'm starting to feel a little more engagement through my traps, but also the ability to do a little more softening. Let's go for maybe 5 more. I'm doing these really slow. Ooh, you guys might see a couple little shifts happening there. I always have weird things going on with my ribs, often as a product of these tight traps. Good. I want you guys to be very conscious that you're not popping the chin forward, all right? We're not shrugging and chin jutting. We're just floating the shoulders up and floating them back down. It might get kind of like hitchy, you know, kind of like almost like it's happening in like clunk, clunk, clunk. That's okay. Let's go for a few more. Ooh, let's go for last 2. Maybe challenging, seeing if they can get a little bit bigger. You can actually see my shoulders shrug now. When I first started, it was like you almost couldn't really see it. I'm gonna go for 1 more on the inhale. Exhale, and go ahead and relax. Now for some of you guys there, that might have been a lot of work. That might be like, oh man, like where is my upper body in space? Take a second to regroup. Now, this is one of those exercises where incorporating a little bit of feedback could actually be helpful. So for those of you who would like to try this sequence with some dumbbell work here, it's the same exact idea. The dumbbells just give you a little bit more kind of like work against gravity. It gives you a little bit more sensation of where you are in space, but also more of a sensation of pulling the shoulders up. This feels different. And then relaxing it down. Let's maybe just try 4 more there. And at any point, if you're like, nope, I'm done, that's cool, be done. This feels good for me. Exhale and inhale. Maybe you start to feel things happen down the chain. Like I said, this muscle does not just live at the tops of the shoulders. It goes halfway down your back. And it's responsible for a lot of postural work, more than just keeping your shoulders upright. Beautiful. Go ahead and relax. You are welcome to put the dumbbells down by your side. Like I said, at any point, you're welcome to implement dumbbells into that sequence. For this next series, I'm going to do half of it without dumbbells. I'm going to try half of it with dumbbells. I'm just going to see where I'm living today. You guys are going to stay seated with hopefully your nicely new active traps, nicely relaxed here. You're going to take an inhale, and we're going to do some lateral arm lifts, keeping softness in the elbow. Thinking about the arm bone connecting into the shoulder socket, and then softly lowering it back down. Now, as you cycle through this, I want you to take a slow pace here. I want you to once again find that connection of the arm bone into the shoulder socket. This is not a shrug, guys. This is a different movement. Bring it back down with slow control. Let this happen at your own pace. And again, feel the muscles at the tops of the shoulders getting a little bit, oop, yep, you can see I'm wiggling through it a bit. I feel a little less connected through my right shoulder today, this one over here. So I'm just gonna try and breathe. I'm not gonna force it, because there's no point in forcing it. And again, nice and slow. Making sure you can see your fingertips in your peripheral vision. We're not taking the hands behind you. All right, I'm gonna try now incorporating the dumbbells just for a couple of repetitions. This might be too heavy for me today. I am feeling a little restriction through my shoulders, but we're gonna give it a try. Floating up. So interestingly enough, for me, I actually feel more engagement using the light dumbbells. I'm not feeling grippy. I don't want you guys to feel grippy. And you'll notice I'm not going super high. I'm like barely hitting parallel to the floor, and that is okay. I'm gonna go for 3 more here. Make sure you're breathing. And we're gonna try for 2 more. You guys are welcome to just ditch the dumbbells at any time. You're welcome to do this whole series without dumbbells, and maybe this is something you build into over time. You come back to this video and say, okay, those body weight arm lifts are starting to feel real easy. Well, maybe that's the time you pick up some weight. Woo, that does feel good. How are you guys feeling here? Check back in with the body. Are you finding tension in any spaces? Can we take a moment to breathe into those spaces? A big inhale. And an exhale. And again, inhale. Letting things soften. We're activating spaces that maybe have been asleep for a while. So take some softness here. We're gonna do 1 more upper body sequence. Once again, I'm gonna do half of it without dumbbells and then half of it with dumbbells. I'm gonna go into a little bit of single arm work, and we're gonna go overhead. So overhead can be a challenging position for hypermobile individuals because there's just a lot going on at the shoulder joint. This is actually kind of a complicated movement. So we're gonna start very, very small. This is one I might encourage you to start with a dumbbell because it's helpful feedback. However, if you're doing it with a dumbbell and you're like, oh my God, this is way too heavy, or it's just not feeling right, put the dumbbell down and do it body weight. But we're gonna start with your arm just resting, letting your hand fall wherever it's gonna go naturally. You're gonna find a nice upright seated position again. You're welcome to lean back into a wall for support. And on your exhale, I want you to start pressing your arm up, activating the top of the shoulder. You might feel some activation underneath the arm as well, and that's okay. Just go so high until you feel like, all right, I'm feeling kind of stuck or sticky or like I don't have any more push in me. And then softly bring the arm back down again. And then let's repeat. We're gonna exhale. And you're gonna glide it up slowly. And then you're gonna inhale and softly bring the arm back down. letting it rest. And woo, you can see my shoulder is actually getting like lower and lower. I'm alleviating a lot of tension despite doing the work. Now, this is my third one. I think I might have 2 more in me. Ooh, look at that, look at that, look at that. I feel like I have way more length. And bring it back down. Now, you guys may notice I'm starting to do a little tip to one side. This is something we want to do our best to avoid. So I'm going to just keep my hand here so I can give myself some feedback. I want to not tip into this hand. That's actually very helpful feedback. So I encourage you guys to do this if you find yourself tipping doing this in front of a mirror. Let's go one more. Hopefully you guys are feeling good, feel like you're building, feeling strong through the top of the shoulder. You do not need to make it to full extension. Whee! But I got there today and that feels awesome. So I am gonna go ahead and put this down. Check in with how your shoulders feel. I feel way more integrated on the side that I was just working. My left side is now feeling kind of like, where am I in space? So let's switch to the other side. And again, I'm curious to see if I'll do that little shifting pattern that I've got going on. We're gonna start very small. Elbow is just resting down. Hand is resting as close to your shoulder as is comfortable. On your exhale, start with that small press. Suss out where your arm is going. Suss out where it feels active. Ooh, you guys maybe just saw that clunk. I was not in the top of my shoulder at first, and now I am. We want to make sure the arm bone stays connected to the shoulder socket. So we're not just turning this into a big trap shrug like we were doing earlier. Take some deep breath with it. Slow and steady. I think this side might be more challenging. I am not quite sure. We're going to go for 3 more and see how we do. Now, as we're activating the top of the shoulder, again, you guys might start to feel some activation through the bottom of the shoulder and the armpit as well, and that's okay. We should get involvement there. We're gonna bring it back down. And again, 2 more. Staying connected. Woo! Lots going on this side. It's definitely more challenging for me. And I feel this more connected through the rest of the body. This is going to be my last one here. And bring it on down. I felt that. How do you guys feel? So we are going to do part 2 of this sequence. We're finally going to pull out our resistance band and we're going to find a space to anchor it. Now today I am going to stay seated. You are absolutely welcome to do this sequence standing, but let's take our bands, wrap it around whatever you are using as your anchor, and we're going to rock and roll. So I'm gonna scooch back here. Now, trick of the trade here with doing band work. I like to wrap my hands into the bands once. I find it easier to activate the wrist to keep it long and lengthy. And I just find it a little bit less stressful on my lovely hypermobile fingers. So, we're gonna start in a nice, tall, upright position, letting the arms be long and forward. And all I want you to do here is I want you to step or sit back far enough away that you feel just a little bit of resistance already on the bands. We don't want a slack bands to start. Because what you're gonna do here is keep the arms long and lengthy. And I want you to imagine you are trying to make the space of your upper back smaller by pulling your shoulder blades softly down and back. And then you're gonna go ahead and glide them forward again with control. Let's do that again. Make the space of your upper back smaller by pulling your shoulder blades down and back. Feeling that musculature get a little active, and then glide forward. We're gonna cycle through this a handful of times, and what I would like you guys to remember is that this is not an elbow pull, okay? We're not there yet. This is a very tiny micro activation. I also don't wanna see you guys whoop, going like that, gliding the shoulder blades back to puff the ribs forward. Let's keep the rib cage really soft and chill. Make sure we're not puffing the ribs as we glide down and back. And as you cycle through this, maintain that softness here, guys, even if it's more of a thought of an exercise today. That's fine. You know, I've said that before. Keep it a thought. Sometimes this is also an exercise that can take a few repetitions before you really start to like feel the engagement happen. I'm about 6 reps in and I actually feel my upper back doing its thing now. And then we are going to start taking this into a slightly bigger movement. Good. Let's do 2 more together. Exhale. Inhale. 1 more. Exhale. Inhale. And relax. Beautiful job here, guys. Alrighty. From this position, I want you guys to keep the palms facing the floor. I want you to use that same sensation of creating a slightly smaller space in the upper back as you pull the elbows back. Now you guys may see I am not yanking back behind the body. I know I can do it, but I lose a lot of engagement when I do this. So I'm gonna try and keep this very connected to the upper back, very connected to the shoulders, stopping when I feel like, okay, that's where I've got engagement right now. And then we're gonna inhale to release forward. Inhale to your upper back. Exhale, maintain that engagement. Now, one big cue here, guys. You may notice my elbows are tracking below my shoulders. They're not at shoulder height. They're not above my shoulders because my shoulder mobility needs some love. So for me, keeping my shoulders a little bit lower actually helps me stay more engaged. This is not a battle of how high can you lift your shoulders to make this look good. This is a where do you find the space that you can feel that connectedness and that engagement. And then we build from there as we get stronger. Drop the collarbones open. I'm going to go for 1 more here. And release and relax. Beautiful job, guys. Alrighty. Wherever you are, seated or standing, I'm going to have you guys shift so that your body is now next to your anchor. I think I'm gonna do this with double straps today. If double straps is feeling too tense, just ditch one side and you can do it so it feels lighter. You guys, as always, can kind of play with the weight. But I'm gonna have you find yourself in a seated position with your palm almost like at your pocket level, almost in line with your pelvic bone. But we're gonna keep the hands off the body. So I've got about 6 inches of space between my hip and my hand. You're gonna start with the elbow nice and relaxed. And I want you to imagine you're trying to hold a newspaper underneath your upper arm. So in order to do that, we're gonna pull the band across the body. You see, that first round was a little challenging for me. And then you're gonna inhale to drop the newspaper. And then exhale to pull the newspaper under the arm. And then release. And as you cycle through this, I want you to feel the muscles underneath the shoulder. I want you to feel the muscles at the rib cage level. Maybe a little bit of lat work, the muscle kind of at the back of the ribs. Ooh, this is tricky. And I want you to take it slow. Because so far, we've done a lot of work to activate the upper shoulder, the traps, the rhomboids at the back of the body. Now I want to make sure we're also activating this low shoulder. Let's try 2 more. And 1 more. Beautiful. Go ahead and relax. So, like I said, at any point you can play with the weight. You find a weight that feels good for you. That should feel connected. That should feel arm bone in socket. Should not feel grippy or strainy through the neck. So if that's the case, maybe take the weight down. Now, of course, I don't have an anchor on both sides, so I'm gonna turn around and we're gonna do this together. And you just get to watch me do it from the back, which, you know, can also be a helpful view. You guys can turn around wherever you are, and we're gonna get rocking and rolling. Once again, hand comes kind of in line with that pocket pelvis space, finding yourself in a nice upright seated, and I want you to imagine you're trying to pull a newspaper underneath your arm. And then inhale to release it. And again, exhale, tuck something under your arm. And you guys may notice that I am not moving with as much range of motion here, and that's okay. Because I'm working really hard to keep my arm bone connected to my shoulder socket. So I'm not gonna force a bigger range of motion just to make it look good, you know? Because then all of a sudden I'm pulling and straining with other parts of my body. I'm gonna go for 4 more. And 3. 2. And 1. Ooh, that last one felt good. Beautiful, beautiful job, guys. Alrighty, once again, come back to seated. Check back in. Are you holding tension anywhere? Can you breathe out that tension? I actually feel very upright right now, which is good because my posture is definitely something that I've been wanting to work on and kind of work through recently. So To end this session, what I would love to do is wind down on a little bit of breath. I am actually going to do this breath laying flat on my back. You are welcome to stay seated. I'm going flat on my back because I find the feedback in my back, which we've just gotten nicely active, to be a helpful, just like touch point. So check in with wherever you are. Feel whatever is connected to the floor, whether it's your feet, your hips, your back, the back of your head. And let's take some winding down breath. Inhale through the nose. And exhale. And inhale through the nose. And exhale. Let's go 3 more. Inhale. Exhale. Let's go 2 more. Inhale. And exhale. Beautiful job, guys. Take as much time as you need to get yourself ready and back into the day. Thank you for joining me. I hope you are feeling good and strong and tall through the upper body, and I will see you back in our next video.